Hey guys, and welcome back to Gabbin with Jessa. Today I'm going to have my very first book review of 2020. I'm so excited to be starting this. I really want to get more into book reviews because I'm trying to read a lot more. When I was in elementary school, middle school, I used to read a whole ton. Then college and high school hit and it was just a little bit harder to read. But now that I'm just working and getting my master's, I have had more time to read. I found myself having more time to read and I'm so excited for that. I have set a Goodreads goal this year of reading 75 books and I really hope to accomplish that. I know it's really big. Last year I ended up reading 55, I believe, but I am ready for the challenge. I want to keep going. I like having a set goal and challenge in mind because that way I can have something that I want to get to and achieve, and even if I don't get there, at least having that goal in mind is really going to help me out, so that way I can just find more things to read and love and explore and talk about with you guys. The first book that I'm going to talk about this year is Weep No More, My Lady by Mary Higgins Clark. I've never really said this before on my channel, but Mary Higgins Clark is actually one of my favorite authors of all time. I'm really into the mystery, thriller, whodunit kind of genre of books. I love going in, reading the first chapter or two and trying to figure out myself who the killer is. And then, you know, the big reveal at the end is always so much fun, just seeing how the author got there, and I think Mary Higgins Clark is one of my favorite authors for that. I've read so many of her books and I can't wait to read so many more. This is the first book in the Alvirah and Willy series, and they are two characters that are introduced to us, Alvirah more so than Willy. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads because I thought, well, at some points it did kind of drag a little bit. It was a little slow. That's kind of how her books go. That's usually my main complaint whenever I give a book of hers 4 or 3 stars, but in the end I love the killer. I love the twist that they had with it and I was very satisfied with it. In this story, Elizabeth Lang is about to go and testify against her sister's fiance because he is accused of pushing her over a balcony and then ending up killing her in the process. Some people believe that she had just gone crazy and it was suicide, but Elizabeth knows that that is not the case. That is not what her sister would do. And while she doesn't believe that Ted is the killer, she only has evidence against him, as she last heard his voice out with her in her bedroom where the balcony is located. There was also an eyewitness account of Elizabeth's sister struggling with a man that they assumed was Ted just because that is her fiance, and Elizabeth here is trying to figure out the truth. During all this, Elizabeth is invited to the Cypress Point Spa just to relax and hang out for the weekend, kind of forget about everything, but little does she know that the Baron and the Baroness in charge of the spa have planted her there so that way she can try to make amends with Teddy, as they are witnessing for him, giving them character witnesses saying that he could not have murdered Elizabeth's sister. Along with Ted, she's bumped into and she's being associated with so many people that have been associated with her sister, whether it's her former agent or the man that invested a lot of money into her play, all sorts of people that have a motive of killing her sister. During this whole trip, everyone's trying to convince Elizabeth that Ted is no way the killer. There's no evidence leaking against him, but as Elizabeth finds out, there's actually a lot of evidence that not only points towards him, but actually a lot of other people who are there as well. During this whole trip, Elizabeth is just trying to figure out the truth of everything, why things happened the way that they did, and that's all she really wants. She doesn't necessarily want to bring anyone to justice. She just wants the truth for her sister. Now, with Mary Higgins Clark books, I really like to figure out who the killer is within the first few chapters. Sometimes it's kind of easy. For this book, actually, it was not. The person that it was someone I wasn't really expecting, someone that kind of definitely took a twist, which a lot of her characters are the twist ones that you never really see, but sometimes they're easy to point out, others are not so easy to point out, and that was the case in this book, so that's why I really liked it. I could not figure out who it was. And what I really liked about the format of this book is that it's kind of broken up into days, and you notice that because the spa will leave guest letters on everything that they're supposed to do for the day, and so you can figure out the timeline of this book very easily because every time there's a new day, there's a new letter, so that way you can really figure out how much time has passed. And it's only a week-long event of things, but I know sometimes in thrillers and mysteries, you never really know how much time has passed. Sometimes it could be a week, sometimes it could be a day, but this one, it was very nice because you were able to figure out, okay, everything happened on this day, everything happened on this day, and then this day, and then so on and so forth. There was a really great cast of characters in this book. I really loved all of them. I loved that every single one of them had a motive of killing Elizabeth's sister, whether it's the jealous girl who wishes that she was with Ted, or the agent who, after Elizabeth's sister kind of went a little off the deep end, lost him so much money, but he's really looking to get the part for the girl that wants the fiance, and it's absolutely bonkers, and I love it. They all play or have played an important part in both Elizabeth and her sister's life, and so it's really sad to figure out that someone within this group has done to someone that was so close or that trusted them so much. Like I said before, sometimes her books can kind of drag in the middle. At some points it was just very slow. It just seemed like we were going through the motions rather than discovering new evidence or anything like that. But for how we got to the end, I actually really liked it. I can usually get through Mary Higgins Clark books relatively quickly. They're not too long. But at some points this did feel like it drug? Sure. The way that we got there made up for it in the end. Now, there are some things that I would like to talk about, but they are, of course, filled with spoilers. So I'm going to be putting a spoiler warning here on the screen. Anytime that you see the spoiler warning from now on, whether I talk about books or movies or comics or anything like that, just so you know, I will be talking about spoilers. So if you are interested in reading, I'd stop it now and then come back and visit me later. Or if you don't care or you have read the book and you want to hear my opinion on certain things, please feel free. I'll also make sure that somewhere down below I have a timestamp of when I will officially start talking about spoilers, which will be now. Throughout a lot of the book, and even in the opening flap premise, they wanted to convince you that it was suicide, and I knew it wasn't suicide. I knew that's not usually the way Mary Higgins Clark goes, at least that I have read as of right now. So I knew it wasn't going to be that, and I knew it wasn't going to be Ted. I mean, it's just so obvious that it wasn't, even when they tried to make it seem more like Ted, how he bumped into Greg or someone or Craig on the street, and how, you know, people said that they heard his voice. I'm like, it's not Ted. It's never the person that you think it's going to be. It's never the obvious one. Sometimes it can be, but most of the time it's not. My favorite character was definitely Sammy, and she didn't deserve what she got. Unfortunately, for some of the older characters in the book that like to befriend or are friends with the main character or associated some way with the killer, they always end up, you know, not making it out to the end of the story, which is so sad because this is not the first time this has happened. And it just makes me so sad that Sammy didn't get, you know, she didn't make it to the end, but she did figure out who the killer was, and that's all she really wanted to know because she loved Elizabeth's sister so much. And the fact that she got that information before she died, I'm still really happy about. So this series, I found out on Goodreads, is part of the Alvirah and Willy series. Alvirah and Willy are a married couple, but in this book, we just mostly focus on Alvirah. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. This is a couple that has recently won the lottery, and it has been Alvirah's dream to come to the spa for some reason because a lot of celebrities like to go there, and she's just always wanted to be able to go there, but she's never been able to afford it until now. And she kind of acted as like a mini detective in this. She has a job at a newspaper company, I believe, where she just kind of reports on celebrities, and of course this is the celebrity spa, so she's gonna stay there. So she was recording people the entire time. Knowing that she and her husband are gonna be part of this long series, I'm not really sure how that's gonna go. I don't really know if we're going to explore her character and his character more. I don't know if they're just still gonna kind of be like background characters. I'm just really curious to see, because she was important to figure out the ending, but she wasn't super important in the overall story. So I'm really curious to see what they're gonna do with those two characters in this series. The next book is called The Lottery Winners, so that's obviously gonna probably focus on them. So I really wanna see what they do in that second book through the other books to follow. What I also like about Mary Higgins Clark is that she definitely leaves you little clues here and there. So that way, even if you don't get the killer right, there's something leaning towards him or her the entire time. And the big thing with this was Craig was able to manipulate voices. He's able to do fake voices and sound like other people. However, I don't recall that being mentioned at all in this story. I looked back and I couldn't really remember that. I could be wrong and mistaken and maybe just missed it somewhere. But that is how we figure out that it was Craig who ended up killing Elizabeth's sister, because he was mocking the voice of Ted to make it sound like that Ted was in the room, so that's who Elizabeth ended up hearing. But I don't really remember much of anything with him being said at all, with being able to mimic voices. And if I just missed it, that's okay, but if it's not, I really don't like surprise killers that are just like, oh yeah, by the way, this guy's the killer. There wasn't really any clues leading to it, because I like figuring it out. I like the discovery of it. I like the mystery. I like doing that all for myself. And so I had no idea it was gonna be Craig. None whatsoever. So that is my review on Weep No More, My Lady by Mary Higgins Clark. I can't wait to continue with this author. Like I said, I've read so many books before by her. This is actually one of her very first ones. I believe this is like the 6th one out by her. And I have read her very first one and I did love it. And I like to thank my mom for getting me into her, because it is, I don't know, this subject of thriller and mystery and whodunit is just something I absolutely love. So I can't wait to continue on more with her. If you guys like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you like more content like this. But until next time, keep on gabbing.